Alright, the Reds, talking Reds. It is Tuesday's Talking Reds from Liverpool's beautiful waterfront once more. Me, Gareth Roberts, him, Craig Hannan. And I've just seen something on Twitter there, Craig, and it's a different angle from Saturday. Basically when Willock's goal goes in. And it's Firmino just standing there, putting his arms out his side and just falling back.
I really
onto
like
the
how he
turf.
does it. He just does like...
Yeah, just does that. He just does that, and that's kind of how I feel about Liverpool right now, I've got to be honest.
So deflated, like the manner of the manner of the first goal, and you're like, fucking hell. And then they let it happen again. They've got a minute and a half to there was no nous about them at that. It almost felt like a self-fulfilling prophecy, didn't it? Like they were all looking around and thinking, fucking hell, there's still 2 minutes, they could score here. And they obviously did. I'm just deflated by it all.
Yeah.
Like I think that, that obviously Chelsea and West Ham play each other at the weekend. So if we had got the 3 points, then you're looking at it just being Chelsea, and you're just left sort of reeling over not just that game, the Leeds game, the past 3 months.
Palace last night.
I was talking to Neil this morning. I was like, remember just before Christmas we beat Palace 7-0. And I remember watching that game in a hotel just before Christmas and thinking, having a little drink and thinking, tell you what, this season...
It's on. It's on. I mean, we had more shots against Newcastle than we did against Palace, so that's nice, isn't it? But yeah,
the Reds.
Palace last night, go 1-0 up, and I thought, big old Roy's going to box it for us, and then he never. And it just feels incredibly heavy at the moment. I mean, I'm trying to think of something we can come on here and talk about that's going to, get everyone is a little bit lighter, is going to lift everyone. But the stuff out there today is basically Liverpool have released their accounts, they've made a loss, they've lost loads of money in the pandemic, we know that anyway. They aren't being run in as bad a way as some of the European giants that they wanted to jump into bed with over this Super League. For more actual insight on what the Liverpool's accounts mean, I would suggest you follow at Swiss Ramble on Twitter.
Have you seen the thread? Have you looked at the graphs?
I looked at the Super League thread, yeah. Just
wild, by the way.
Showing it's absolutely madness how a lot of the clubs are being run. And Liverpool obviously are not being run in that manner. And look, we've had a pop at them, haven't we, for being conservative at times and things like that. And people always want them to spend money. And I mean, my irony meter's fucking off the charts when we all go mad about a Super League, and then immediately people say sign Mbappe, and we'll think it's all right again. I mean, just something somewhere's got to give at some point here. And the stuff overnight from Xherdan Shaqiri as well. Their members have voted. For them to lobby the club, for there to be a fan on the board, and there's got to be some response around that now. But like I say, all of this stuff is incredibly heavy for. I'm just a man who wants to see my football team win matches and have good times and be in the ground and share that experience with my mates and all of that. And there's just not anything that good at the moment.
Well, the past 3 Aprils, obviously last year we were in a lockdown, but we had the idea of Liverpool winning the Premier League for the first time in 30 years ahead of us. The April before that, we were amidst the title race. I think we've beaten, on this day 2 years ago, we've beaten Huddersfield 5-0 on a Friday night, and we were all out afterwards. Liverpool had gone top with 2 games to go, and obviously we had Barcelona on the horizon. The season before that, we had Roma, the Roma away leg to come up. So this is it's a weird feeling at this stage of the season to feel like this. And yeah, you're right. All of this stuff this morning, like the Swiss Ramble thread, when you actually look at the pre-pandemic in terms of how some of those clubs are being run, it's scandalous. Like I think AC Milan had losses of 402 million, and you look at the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona, that we know that they're struggling for money. Chelsea and Manchester City were being run at losses as well, but obviously they're in a different situation, aren't they, really? When you see these
and
none of
it matters though either, because UEFA's financial fair play is a load of bollocks and hasn't got any teeth. And look, I'm one of the ones that's rightly volleyed our owners for jumping into bed over this ASL plan, which was a load of bollocks and was presented poorly, and we know all about that now. But one of the reasons they've done it is when they took over the club, they expected FFP to mean something, and it's meant nothing. They basically found Man City guilty and then said, oh yeah, but we're out of time and it doesn't matter now, so just all crack on. So everyone's just cracking on, running football clubs in mad ways, and then we're all going, or some of our number are going, well, we need to compete with them, so go and buy him and spend that money, and I don't really care where the money's coming from. I'm not really bothered about balance sheets. I don't really care about, you know, accounts and things like that. I just want to see you sign Mbappe. It's not realistic, is it?
No. It's a weird one to talk about, especially after what's happened last week. And I think you're right. There is an irony in people being FSG out before all of this, because they don't spend enough money. Greed feeds greed, and suddenly FSG are then trying to make what in normal circumstances, and I mean normal as in outside of football, would be a very good business decision, in that that they know they're going to make X amount every season from being in the Super League and so on and so on. But we know that football clubs aren't normal businesses, are they? They're born from communities, and they're and we want sport as well. Exactly. It's not normal business, is it? So, but yeah, whenever you look at the Swiss Ramble, Fred, which is like, I'm not into stats and dry money things in terms of football business, but I love his I love his threads really every single year. Yeah. But when you look at Liverpool's, I think theirs is operating at a loss of a loss of 48 million, and when you look at some of our rivals, it's like half and a third of that. Liverpool's is half and a third of their debt. So I mean, you can see that as a positive. It just obviously depends as to whether when their accounts are. So is it June to July? So on that moves. You've got this investment now as well, haven't you? Well, in the wider. That was the interesting thing in all of this. The wider sporting group. Yeah, it's not specifically in Liverpool, is it? It's in the FSG portfolio or whatever, of which Liverpool is one institution that they hold the keys to. And that talks about there's been talk around that investment in that from Redbird, is that what they call the group? Will mean that Liverpool can still spend in the transfer market and all the stuff that a lot of people get excited about. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm not being two-faced here. Like, if in some way they make Mbappe work, I'm not going to be like, I can't believe we signed him because of the finances. I'm going to be like, yes, let's go and watch Liverpool with Mbappe up front. And that's the madness of football and the madness of football. We're all hypocrites. Fans. Yeah, of course we are. The game makes everyone a hypocrite at some point. I've always said that. Away from all that stuff, away from all the heavy finance, away from what we do next around European Super Leagues and all that kind of stuff. And as I say, on that, by the way, Liverpool must respond to what Xherdan Shaqiri have said there. They've got to say something. You can't just sit on your hands now and go, well, it'll just all drift away. I want them to be open now. I want them to talk. I'd love John Henry to do a little bit more than a 2-minute video and just explain the thought process of what you went through and why you thought that was a good way to do it. Because we've done all this, but they threw a lot of people under the bus, and they need to explain why for me. But anyway, I'm also interested to see who they. I'll be interested to know, and we won't find out, but who they're speaking to right now in terms of at the club. Like, are they leaning on the people at the club that will understand the city and understand why these decisions make fans all around the world feel the way they have about done? How you can put it right. Yeah, so speak to the people on the ground, speak to the people in the Chapel Street office. I mean, speak to fans. Something that they didn't do to make this decision. So now do that to try and begin to build some bridges and make it right. For a lot of people, they won't be able to. There are no more mistakes to be made, because FSG have made time after time again, and they haven't learned from the previous mistake and so on. But they do know. I mean, look, they know. At least that's something. It's not like they've gone, well, we were still right. It appears they know. Yeah. At the very least, they know they fucked up. And you got the video from John Henry, but you also got, there was a report over the weekend that said Mike Gordon said to Jordan Henderson, just be honest. You go and say what you want to say, just be honest. We're not going to say to you, don't say that because you're an employee of the Liverpool Football Club. He just said, go and be honest. Yeah. So I mean, that's something. That is something. The other thing that's kicking about today is Shaqiri, apparently. You're not going to give me bad news here. I'm afraid there is more bad news. I mean, who doesn't love the power cube? Who doesn't love his mad Barnet, his big calves, the fact that he can do what he can do with the football, the fact that he's, just this mad fella.
he apparently, according to some reports today, wants to go, and it's not unreasonable that he wants to go. If you look at the big list of minutes this season, Shaqiri's way down the bottom. He hasn't called on him very much. It seems that he still doesn't trust him in a football sense. But it's a bit of a shame. I like the fucker.
I like the fucker. We should call it, this is what Talking Reds is called today. I'm the same as you, really. There's times where he'll burn your head out, but he's one of those like mercurial footballers that can just do something that makes you like get on your feet, or
do you remember that pass to Jota?
Brilliant. And it'll be funny to sort of see. I'll be interested to see how he's looked back upon when eventually he does move, because I understand the reasons for moving. He wants more minutes. He left Bayern Munich at a time because he wasn't getting many minutes. He goes to Stoke, he gets them moved to the big club. It's worked out, I'd say, in that he's won things. He's part of the Barcelona game, scores against Everton. There's big moments there for him, and we forget what the sort of impact that he had in his first 2 months coming in, and how everyone was raving about him, excited about him. So he's been a success given the amount that we spent on him, but he's obviously not played enough, and he's not been disciplined enough in terms of what Jurgen Klopp asked of his players.
Do you remember when Klopp just walked on the pitch and bollocked him on the pitch at the end of the match?
And he's so wee as well.
That's what I mean. Like, Klopp's massive. And he's just there, and little Shaqiri's like. I was just trying to win a football match, Mr. Klopp. Sorry, Mr. Klopp.
I do understand that it's maybe time for him to move on a personal basis. If Liverpool are going to be in the Europa League next season, I'd love to have Shaqiri about in for group stage games. He's sort of the perfect player.
I wonder if he'd be interested. Let's remember, he was at Stoke. Do you know what I mean? And I know he's played for some boss clubs and all the rest of it, but I just wonder who'd be interested and where he would go. There's loads of question marks, I think, around the squad, and loads of cases to be made for people to be in and out and all that kind of stuff. I think we've got to remember, bearing in mind what we talked about at the top of the show there, that the finances of all football clubs and the hit they've taken during the pandemic is going to influence a lot of things. So, I was on a show with Rob talking about, the minutes everyone has got. And I was saying, well, you look at Chamberlain, you look at Shaqiri, you look at Keita, you can make a case, Origi, for all of these, you can make a case for all of them to go. But then, of course, your next sentence is, we've got to get players in. And it's like, well, where's all that money coming from then? Yeah. And also, who's paying money for all of those players, and what are they going to offer? Everyone's going to be, the transfer market's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I think I sort of, my thinking behind what will happen next moves and changes depending on the result, because I don't think Liverpool's transfer business in terms of what they've been planning for will change that much based on whether they're in the Champions League or the Europa League. I think they've got enough money in the bank. No, I don't mean actual money in the bank. I mean they've got enough sort of. They've shown what they're about in European football over the past few years, and it's been a mad season for everyone. And they can look at injuries, and there's loads of reasons why Liverpool haven't been the Liverpool that we know this season. So I don't think what they're planning will change too much. What I am unsure about is how many will bring in and how many will go out, because I certainly think there'll be more that comes in. But then, if for instance we weren't able to qualify for any sort of Europe, then suddenly you don't need a big squad anymore. And he's looking and thinking, well, the squad's decent, so is there more going in or is there more going out? I'm not sure. I think the likes of Origi's a shoe in to leave, surely. We've hardly seen him play. Shaqiri as well, you'd think so. Keita is the one that is sort of 50-50, I think. He throws him in a game against Real Madrid, and he says it's because he's been great in training, and we've seen glimpses of Naby Keita, but then he absolutely, in front of everyone, drags him off before half time, and then we haven't seen him since. So I don't know what that tells you, but in terms of who they bring in, I don't think. Possibly the only one that's influenced by all of this, or maybe changes, is if they did have a big one like an Mbappe or a Haaland, because you look at it and you go, are they willing to take a year out of the Champions League? I can't
see them paying the money for either of them, I've got to be honest. But we'll keep talking about it, we'll keep doing the stuff. It is, of course, Manchester United away this weekend.
That's weird, isn't it?
I know, we've not even mentioned it. But you know, that is a big game in the fixture calendar at any time. No different this time. They will want to put the boot in on the Reds, no doubt about it. And let's be honest, look, everything that's gone on, it's mad, it's a shit season, all of those things. What a beautiful tonic a win there would be for the Reds. So we'll be building up to that video podcast on the website and all that. It's also as well the time of year where there's only 5 games left, obviously. We're starting to reflect on what we do, start to make plans for next year and that kind of thing. So if you want to make some comments, throw some comments our way on what we do, what you think we can get better at, what you'd like to see, old stuff we used to do that we don't do anymore that you think we should do again, whatever it may be. Throw your comments our way in all the ways you can. So social media, email, comment box below on this, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, thanks for supporting the Anfield Wrap. Please keep doing so. Up the fucking Reds.